Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Stacey Jones and Misi Rose, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I guess I should say I'm welcoming Mercy Mall of Virginia. Need to be clear, it is of Virginia because there are other Mercy Malls, right?
Correct.
Stacey.
Yes.
Well, I guess we should start with Stacey. How did Mercy Mall of Virginia become an organization that helps people in need in the community?
Well, I guess the first question should be, how did Mercy Mall get to Virginia? Because it was not ever a plan in our hearts. It was something that God had for us, and it took him a little while to get to us and into our heads and our hearts. We just moved here, and we moved from Harrison, Arkansas. That's where Mercy Mall was birthed, in the heart of our pastor, Shannon Odell. And it was back in 2011. Yes, 2011, we moved here. And we had served at the Mercy Mall there. It was just a baby. It was a couple years old. And we got here and just said, we're glad that it's still there, but we don't have anything here. And so little by little, the seed was planted and grew in our hearts when we realized there were people in need in this area. So it's really a long story, so I'm going to keep it very short. That's the short version. And so we started opening up storage units after we had a cart and a table in an elementary school just to give out coats and hygiene products. And then little by little, we opened up. By the time we were into our first building, we had 14 storage units in 2 cities. And we just called social services and said, we're doing this thing. We're doing this. We're giving out essential items. And at that time, we were giving out food. And it just grew organically from there.
Stacey, it's amazing you've been doing this for 16 years. And because you've been doing it for so long, I imagine, 14 years here, 16 years total. I imagine you know that there are people in need in every part of this country, whether it's Appalachia or downtown Richmond or wherever it is. And that obviously that applies to most parts of the world. And we are a developed country. Imagine not being a developed country and the needs there, but you can only help what you can help, right? And so you help in your backyard. And I think it's amazing. And you have a much bigger heart than the average bear, for sure, Missy. I'm sure that applies to you as well. I do have to ask, what is happening in Harrison, Arkansas, where people would want to live there?
It's 30 minutes south of Branson, Missouri. And if you haven't been to Branson, Missouri, it's one of the best kept secrets. It is a family friendly, it's kind of like a little mini Gatlinburg. And it's in the Ozark Mountains. If you haven't been out there, Northwest Arkansas, where Walmart was born, Bentonville, not far from Bentonville. And it is it's gorgeous country. And we moved out there with FedEx. So that's why we landed there. And then our whole family landed there, my parents. And we loved it. We were there 4.5 years, just long enough to be discipled by our pastor and to come back here and set this up. So, and like I said, not our plan, but it was his.
Stacey, where are you originally from?
I was born in Miami, but my dad was in transportation, so we moved every 2 to 5 years. So Florida mostly, 35 years.
You call Florida home?
I call Virginia home.
All right, nice.
Yeah. I don't want to go back to Florida.
Is this the longest you've lived in any one place?
No, Florida was.
Okay.
Still, yep, 35 years.
Right. Nice. Well, Richmond's another hidden secret. Because you guys have lived here, you know that we're not far from water, whether it's a lake, a river, the bay, or the ocean. We're not far from mountains. We're not far from a ton of history,
right.
and we get 4 seasons. What's not to like about that?
Oh, we love it. It was hard to get into, though. I can tell you that.
What do you mean?
It took a long time to really plant our roots here. It was about 7 to 8 years, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to tell us more.
There's really not much of a story behind that, except for the fact that we were looking for a church and we just couldn't find the same flavor church that we had left, and it was hard to everyone had their groups, everyone had their friends, they were kind of set, they had grown up here, and we were transplants. And so it really took Mercy Ball, I think, to help us plant our roots here.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we know tons of people.
not your primary motivation for founding Mercy Mall, but it had a nice side benefit.
For sure.
Very cool. Missy, how long have you been involved in Mercy Mall?
All right. So I go a year, I think, after the first storage units were set up. That was roughly, I think. We played this game of when was that? How long have we been in this building? So somewhere we have it written down. I know it, but I never remember it. But at least a year. So I would say like 2012-ish. That's when I reached out on Facebook Messenger to Stacey and said, I want some more information about what this place is. I think I'd like to come and volunteer and tell my church about it. That's how I started, as a little unaware of what would happen next volunteer. And I was searching for somewhere to go that would take the words that I have heard in the Bible, words from Jesus, and make them be lived out. So going and seeing and helping people. And I had heard about Mercy Mall from someone else. And so quite organically myself, just going there. And I went into Uncle Bob's self-storage is where we were. And I walked in and met Stacey, and I think she was the only one there that day because it was just a baby. And it was a Tuesday. And I walked in and she put me to work folding pants. And I remember thinking, I could do this at home. I don't want to fold pants. I want the Little Mermaid. I want to be where the people are. And then the first client showed up, and back then it was in storage units. So you had the whoosh whoosh of the automatic doors that eventually became the bane of her experience there because they just wouldn't stay shut. And I remember Stacey saying, all right, go ahead. You can take this one. And I was just like, and we didn't have, one thing about Stacey is she's very organized. She actually had an organizing business. So what might have felt like, oh my goodness, I have to do this thing. And, but we had a system even then. And I just remember meeting this woman and walking her through maybe 6 storage units at the time. Like, I don't even know. And we're walking through these different storage units, and I'm telling her what I just basically probably learned. Here's some pants. This is the kids area. If you need some clothes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's never been there before. Then we get to the hygiene and food unit, which was a 6x6 or 8x8 closet at a storage unit. And it was hygiene and food. And I remember showing this young lady, I wish I remembered her name, but showing her this area and saying, like, ticking it off, like, okay, there's this, and this, and there's some toothpaste. Oh, look, we have toothpaste down here. And this lady just lost her mind over toothpaste. Like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe, praise God, there's toothpaste. And I was just like, toothpaste? I have extra tubes of toothpaste, probably stuff I don't like the brand I bought that I don't really like, but I keep it just in case. Like, I have an abundance of something that feels silly, and like, everyone has toothpaste. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was just like, oh, okay. People don't have stuff. Like, cognitively, people don't have things, but then to experience somebody needing something and then witnessing that physical need being provided, not through me, like, that's a powerful witness to God's movement, people moving towards people and getting to see it firsthand. It was addictive. And I had come from being quite addicted and loving the sinful nature of myself to coming into contact with real raw need. And there is something very powerful in that. It attracts a lot of people. And I was hooked from then on. Like, if you could have seen the thing stuck in my mouth. And then I made this utterance. Is there anything I could help with? Because that's my nature, is helping, right? A lot of us are. And it has been just such an amazing journey of, like, when you're walking it out, you don't really realize just all the things that have happened. But if you were to sit down and write it all out, just like in the Bible, there's a part where John, I think, says, if we were to write everything out that God has done, that Jesus has done, there is not enough words. There's not enough paper. There's not enough ink. So it is an interesting and wonderful journey that we have gotten to be on together.
You're doing a lot of good for people in need, and I'm guessing that you guys love every minute of it. I'm sure there are days where there's sadness, you're feeling negative emotions from time to time, but generally speaking, you're very happy when you do what you do.
I personally, I can't speak for Missy. I'm gonna let her do that. I love my job, but it is very difficult work, and the quantity, there's too much work to be done by the amount of people that we have doing it. And it does get very overwhelming. In fact, last year we took our first sabbaticals, and mine was closer to like 5 weeks. And as I was telling other people, I have never had a break in life, or never felt like I needed one, until things started crashing. Like, I was crying a lot. It was like we were caretaking my husband's dad, and he passed away in August, and it was all just too much. But this job is very rewarding. You got to focus on the mission in order to feel that reward, rather than the task, because the tasks look menial sometimes. Like, we got to we got to call those people, sit on this spreadsheet, get on that Google Doc. Our jobs are very administrative in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of work that's happening behind the scenes to make those people feel loved when they come through that front door. So we're grateful for the 150, 200 volunteers that grace our building every week, sometimes remotely, and driving our box truck. So without them, there's no way that we could do this work.
I'm afraid I'll forget to bring this up, so I'm going to bring it up now. How do you guys know Brett McCray? Because he's the one who connected us.
You take that one, Missy.
I'll take that one. So Brett goes to my church. And so my husband, Greg, and I have been friends with Brett and Amy at Swift Creek Baptist Church. Plug it. Why not? And if you meet Brett, there's no way to not know Brett, right? Like, he is known, right? But he has a big heart for nonprofit work. Like, he loves it, right? He has a lot of passion for it. And he's super family oriented, very loyal friend to a lot of people. But yeah, that's how, and he's at my church, he's the liaison between our missions department, or whatever that's called. And so he's the one that we communicate back and forth with, for Swift Creek in particular. But he has also done a fair amount of connecting us with different ministry groups, and he's always plugging Mercy Mall, which I think is pretty amazing. There's a lot of cheerleaders out there.
Yeah.
And you don't really know how many people are going and telling different things, and hey, you need to check this place out. Because like Stacey said, there's a lot of background work, and you don't always get to experience that toothpaste moment anymore. Not as often. You're hearing the toothpaste moment second or third hand. So having someone like Brett and others that come in and go, hey guys, this is an amazing thing. Like, oh my gosh, you need to know what's happening over here. Mm-hmm. And he's like that for Mercy Mall, I would say.
This is a strange thing for me. I know another member of your church, I think. And if you don't know this person, you need to meet him. He's
let me see. Go ahead.
He's a unique person. Tom Greco.
No.
You don't know Tom Greco?
Write it down, Missy.
No. I don't know how to spell it either.
Greco.
G-R-E. Okay, Greco. Yeah. Isn't that a guy from the 90s or the 80s? Greco?
Richard Greco.
Greco.
21 Jump
Richard
Street.
Grieco. Different
Yes.
time, different time. That's not him. I
You
hope not.
can't-
I'm gonna look him up. Wait, can I look him up now? Okay, hold
Please
on.
look him up. He's about 5'7", originally from New York. He's got some amazing stories trying to integrate from New York. I think he grew up in Brooklyn, maybe, and he ended up in Chesterfield.
So he's got an accent. Got it. I'll look for him. All right.
It's
We'll
not
look for
quite
him,
that
Tom
thick.
Greco.
Not
No?
quite that thick, but he's definitely Italian.
All right. I look for him. I'll stand up in the middle, look the sanctuary, and go, Tom, Mr. Greco.
He's the only Italian Baptist I know.
No?
They're usually Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
married to an Italian Catholic. Yes.
Yeah.
They're almost always Catholic.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Very cool. So, if Missy, you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago where you educated me quite a bit about the people that need your services, and because I see homeless people or people appearing to be homeless, and I want to go up to them like, "Hey, let's get you some help." And you said, "Well, hey, not everybody at those stoplights need our help." So, can you, one of you or both of you, talk about? And we'll start with you, Stacey. Like, what's wrong with somebody going up to a homeless person saying, "Hey, let me take you to a place that can provide services to you"? Why would that be a mistake potentially?
Well, first of all, how did they get to that stoplight? If we take them out, let me go back to the story that I heard. It was a freezing cold night. It was going to dip down into the teens, and everyone's frantically trying to figure out, what are we going to do with these homeless people? Like, a guy died under the bridge in Petersburg. And of course, with the work that we do, that's devastating to hear that, because we think that should happen to nobody. However, that space under that bridge, if they leave that space, it's going to be taken by another family. That space under the bridge covers them from the wind, keeps them safe, gives them a temporary home. Many times there's roots to the homelessness that can't easily be fixed by $5, a bag of chips, or to be brought to a center to receive clothing and household items. The lane that we're in is anywhere on that journey from rock bottom to full stability. That's where we meet them. And usually they're working with a crisis case manager that's going to be able to vet their needs, but at the same time, figure out where that route is. Is that route substance abuse? Is this a veteran who needs to go to the VA hospital but doesn't have transportation? Do they even have an ID? Sometimes their first step is they don't have an ID. You're not even a person in this world unless you have an ID in this kind of developed country. And so finding and getting an ID, getting an address, getting a job, getting your kids back, we don't know where they are on that. So there's no problem for me giving them money or food, but to pick them up out of their place and move them to get them the things that they need. Now, if you were going to be willing to put them in your car and get a shower, come back, by all means, do that if you feel safe doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we leave that work up to those who are the professionals in that field.
So your clients, I'll call them clients. That may not be the right term.
That's what we call them.
Okay. When they are engaging with you, they have either walked in out of the blue, or they've come through a caseworker with social services. I'm guessing those are the two primary paths.
Yeah. Self-referral and case management. Yes. And
self-referral is through if I'm in need, how do I get in touch with you guys?
Okay. So I just actually explained this yesterday. If you're in need and you have a pretty good brain in your head, you're going to go, who do I call? Where do I go for help? There's going to be a couple things that might pop in your head. You might find yourself somewhere that is posting a 211 hotline. So you can call that 211 hotline. And then if you say, I need clothes, you're going to get that resource on the 211 hotline. You might call social services. You might walk into a church. You might call a church because maybe you had some faith in the past. You're like, hey, I need some help. Where do I go? Our clients are extremely resourceful. They're very smart. And for the most part, unless they're struggling with some kind of impairment in that way, they find their needs met in one way or the other. And so if they use that to be able to dig themselves out of that situation, that's the best case scenario. And there's a lot of steps. And so we have compassion for that. So did I answer your question?
You did. And look, I'm 56 years old. I didn't know 211 was a thing.
Yeah. You wouldn't
You're
know
welcome.
that, but
Thank you.
yeah. And the information is where, okay. So like you think about if your target market is homeless people hang out in places where homeless people are allowed to sleep or sleep in their cars. And so those places they're going to get access to that information as needed. And so if you talk to enough people, they'll get you in the right direction to get your needs met.
Does 211 work everywhere in the country?
That's a good question. Missy, do you know that?
So 211 is like the service highway. So 411 works for certain information, 811. So they're all like nationwide numbers or organizations online. So most people would engage with it probably on their phone by just Googling. I challenge you later to go on Google and type in clothing help and just see which shows up. Let's see where we rank on what comes up there. I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be one of them, or donate clothes or something like that. We're going to show up. But there's also this thing called word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask people when I meet them in our front lobby, like, how'd you find out about us? Or da 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 da. Oh, my cousin or my friend or Facebook. At this point, we're not necessarily dragging the seabed to look for new people to serve.
Mm-hmm.
They are finding us. We're always looking for more people to support, more so than more people to serve. But we always refine our capabilities so that we're serving the individual or family that has no resource, that is in a moment of crisis where there is no other support. Their support system, like if something happened to me, I have my husband. Something happened to his job, we have his family. I have grown children that could help us. But many times people that we're encountering and serving, they're without support, or their support system is also in crisis or in need of supplementation somewhere. So, when you're building a house of cards and your house falls, your other people are in the same situation. You don't have anywhere to lean. That doesn't mean that they don't support one another. It just means that they're drawing from a more shallow well than we might be because of our situations. And I'm thankful for that. It gives us the opportunity, and people like us and people even better off than us, to write big checks, bring in large things so that these individuals and families can be served. But our client are not necessarily that person you're encountering at the crosswalk or at the street light. To your point, that may not be the exact person that we're serving. It could be, or it could be them 5 years from now that we're serving them when they finally have managed to crawl out of that situation, whatever it may be.
I'm guessing you guys spend a lot of your time each day, or at least each week, working on relationships with partners that help you in what you do. Missy, we'll start with you, but Stacey, I'd love to hear your perspective as well. Can you give some light to those partnerships and what those relationships are like?
Well, on my side of the world, my relationship things that I'm working on is going to be more volunteer side, more operations side of things. So the relationships that I have built would be more like today. I reached out to someone that I met that owns and operates a company where he could maybe help us with our current renovation. And so that's important for me to maintain those relationships so that I can just text somebody or call someone. And a lot of times people are just waiting for the opportunity to get tapped, like, oh, good, now they need me. And then the relationship piece with partners are volunteers. So I work a lot with churches and organizations that want to volunteer. They may be giving financially already, and now they want to expand on that and make their actions meet their dollars. So, but Stacey and I streamline in the efforts that she's working on, the financial and the partnership piece. And so we have to work together to make sure that, say, this church partner, this community partner that's giving financially monthly or annually, we are, in constant contact with them to make sure they know, like, here's how we're using those dollars. This is how your impact is showing, and here's how you can get involved. I know Stacey can speak to that a lot more because she's always offering. We don't want to just be like, give me this. We want to, like she has said earlier, we cannot do all these things. We need these folks. So my side of things is more offering opportunities to get involved tangibly, like with themselves, and that way, and material items, always trying to get material items in and navigating that, whereas she's going to be dealing more with the corporate sponsorship, the grant writing, and all of the budgeting things. So it's just a fair amount of stuff she's working on over there.
Yeah, Paul,
Just a little bit.
everything we do is relationship driven.
Mhm.
For someone to send us money, but yet we haven't met them or given them a tour, I feel like there's a void there and that I need to reach out. In fact, we just got a donation from an insurance company, Missy, and I was like,
Oh,
never heard of this. And so I wrote it down and I'm like, I got to find out, how do we get these funds? People picked us for some reason and we want to invite them into the building for them to see what they're investing in. Or maybe they already know about us because of an employee or a volunteer that maybe told them about us. And at the same time, we want to go back to them and say thank you.
mhm,
So
mhm.
we absolutely love our community partners. We have our local partners, and then we have more of a kind of like the big corporations that have dollars that they can decide how they give, whether it's through a grant process or through my relationship with one person that's local, but then the check comes from like corporate America, some other office somewhere. Either way, we like to have a face with a check. I really feel like there's just something missing when we don't have that.
Who manages relationships with social services or other government entities?
That is our client care director. So we have a whole department that is led by someone that just moved out of the state who is still working remotely. And then we have somebody in the building that manages all those relationships. And so it'd probably be good to tell you how the process works. So like if you talked to somebody and you needed something, the very front door is just texting a number, 804-728-2928. And it's text only because we don't have, Zonia at the building does not have time to actually be sitting and texting and on the phone. And so we tell everybody, just text. Everyone loves to text. They rather text than call anyway. Once you text, and if you just said, I need help, Zonia is trained to take you from I need help to what is your crisis situation? Where are you living? How can we best serve you? Are we the best service for you? Or do you need more of a step down program? Or do you need a crisis case manager? Like, they are highly trained, self-trained, if you will, because maybe they haven't been in those situations. They're learning from the people we serve how to actually do the thing. And so then they'll get you in the door, and our turnaround time is very, very quick. So like, depending on the situation, it could be 24 hours, it could be a week, and it could be 2 weeks if they're moving into some place and we wait until they're settled in.
What is a step down program?
So a step down program would be, so we're only helping people, generally speaking, one time, and it is on a case by case basis. And so that their biggest emergency, that's not to say we're not going to help them again. For instance, you've got a unexpected pregnancy. This person is already in poverty. They need maternity clothes. They need, whatever else while they're at it. Just go ahead and grab the things that they need. But then now they've had the baby. They'll get another appointment. The step down program is more of a sustainable thing. And so that could be Liberation Thrift. It could be a program that's meeting needs, not crisis. And so I'm not even sure where we send them now. Do you know where we send them, Missy, for step down stuff?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a pretty cool list of different places, including furniture resources, because it's one of those things, like, you develop a template of something to copy paste and send somebody because you get asked those questions so often. So it could be there down the road from where Mercy Mall is. There's a food bank, Belmont. church, they offer clothing and food support to, I think, probably 500 individuals a week. And then there's Chesterfield Food Bank and outreach down the road. So there's always the potential for someone to be served somewhere else. The reason why people want to come to Mercy Mall long term is because it's so excellent. I mean, toot a horn, but seriously, it is amazing, wonderful items, and it's packed with such care, and it's going to be the best of clothing and household goods and baby gear and hygiene, because of the community that gives to Mercy Mall is so generous, and the standards in which we serve are from the highest quality standards. So that's one thing that has remained true from the time I started volunteering, which is probably the hallmarks of Pastor Shannon Odell, was that people that are in a circumstance that could be one of us, someone we love, are used to receiving things that you and I would say, well, this is good enough. There might be a hole, but if you need something, this will do. And we don't go for that. Like Hall & Oates. I don't go for that. No. Okay. So we are like the one place that I would say people want to come and receive items from us. And the volunteers that we have that are greeting people at curbside, because people, when they come, we're packing on their behalf the items that they've asked for. We've developed a system where they tell us their size, like Stitch Fix, where you go online and say, this is what I wear, this is what I need, or Kroger, Walmart. We pack it for them. Then they arrive outside. We put it in their vehicle. Then we offer them the opportunity to come in the front lobby, where we have a volunteer there ready to help them shop through additional free items that are coming from Walmart or Target. So they're like really nice things. And we're nice to people, not because we have to be, but because that's just a general outpouring of how we're feeling. And so if I had to choose and I was in a situation I needed items, I would go there. I would say, go there. They're nice to you there. They have good stuff there. Like, why wouldn't you? So, yeah.
So the path to recovery starts with a crisis, right? Or clear need that needs to be met. And it sounds like your primary function is the onboarding to the path of recovery. Is that a fair way to think about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Stacey has a really good statement that we use, overcoming the obstacles to home and life stability. So exactly what you said is the truth, because we only meet somebody maybe 5 minutes, if ever. We're not even totally going to meet somebody that we're offering these items that they need. So this is hopefully meeting somebody right at that moment where they can overcome an actual obstacle, which might be a car seat or pots and pans, and in hopes that they don't need us again.
You're in North Chesterfield. Are you serving effectively that part of Chesterfield County? Are you serving all of Chesterfield County? Are you serving Richmond Metro? How big is the geography you service?
All of it. All of it. Our biggest, I don't know our zip code data by heart, but between Chesterfield County and Richmond, I believe that's about our 60%.
Okay. We've talked about homeless. We've talked about unexpected pregnancy. What are other situations people find themselves in where they need your services?
All right, Missy, we're going to play a game, okay? I'm going to name one. You're going to name one.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Domestic violence.
Human trafficking.
Oh.
House fire.
Bed bugs and mold infestation.
Oof.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You got this.
Substance abuse recovery. Substance abuse recovery.
Recent release from incarceration.
Yes, I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, no, I think I read this somewhere.
Yeah, we're not making light of that. They're grandparents raising grandkids.
Mental illness.
Mental illness.
How many are we going to come up with? Do we think?
This is it. We're done.
We have a lot. We're done. But there's one more: refugee resettlement.
Yes. Yes.
I know this because I just did our PowerPoint where I go over this with volunteers. That's really the only reason it's for us. I have cliff notes.
Yeah, all of those situations clearly are signs that people need help. The one that really caught my attention, though, is this notion of trafficking. How prevalent is trafficking in our world here in Richmond?
Well, I mean, if you look up the numbers, that'll give you an indication, but trafficking can be almost anything. It's not always prostitution. It's anything where someone is being sold or used for something where it's almost against their will. So you think of trafficking more like some child that's being taken from their parents and sold, and like, but it is literally a lot of the women that are walking the streets of Richmond. They're trafficked. They are being sold for their sexual acts that they're going to do. And they may have not made that decision to do that, but there's very hard to get out of and break free. We do partner with police departments that are working to help people that are victims of trafficking. And so we offer services to police that are working right with someone that is trying to break free from that particular form of trafficking. So things that we can't really talk about, but is way more prevalent than we think. And if you look up the numbers, I think you'd be surprised, but Richmond is a very prevalent place for trafficking.
Let me also just add, Paul, that 99% of trafficked children, all the way up to through adults, are unidentified. So you're not going to see it in the numbers. So whatever numbers you're seeing, go ahead and like multiply it by, I don't even know, but 100.
It's a form of slavery, is what you're describing.
Yes, it is. It is slavery, and yes.
And do we not use that term just because it's a hot button term and trafficking sounds more 21st century?
Good question. I'm not sure why they've gone to human trafficking. I think it's a broader range. I don't know if slavery puts the right image in people's heads, but trafficking does. And so I think human trafficking is a better term for it.
Yeah, you're right. In America in particular, it certainly alludes to 150 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's in the same field, right, as that, but it's taken a different form in modern times. And by the way,
also, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just say Richmond has more trafficking than we'd like to believe. I'm guessing primarily because we have two interstates that run through the city.
Yeah, I was going to say that when we see someone that we know is, not that we see, hopefully, someone who's a prostitute, we have this idea that that's someone's choice. While they might appear that they have free will to walk away from that. But that laundry list of crisis situations that we rattled off pretty easily, someone is more than likely experiencing many of those. It's not just, I have this one thing happening. No, you might be a victim of human trafficking, and you have mental illness. You also have a drug addiction, and you probably have been in and out of jail.
Right.
So it is a web of despair many times. And we can't linger long in thinking through exactly what someone might be going through, because we would never be able to raise our heads up from that. And the people that we serve, the people that are affected by Mercy Mall and places like it, when we meet this individual, we don't see that on them. Now, they might be experiencing and feeling all this, but in that moment that they come in, there is a fog that lifts, and it could just be that there's that human quotient of someone who sees you, and this is the first time I've ever heard your story. And you can tell me all day long, I'm not mad at you. You didn't steal from me. You didn't break my heart. You're not my child. And here is somebody that is loved for even 5 minutes. And it might not make a big difference in the long run, but they'll remember that there was this place that they cared about me and they were interested in my story and they saw the good in me when maybe they can't see it for themselves. And so that's what's important. The things that are given out, those are the necessary things, but the hope and the joy that we see on people's faces when they're going through something that we don't ever want to think about, that's more like a plot to a story, a movie that we've watched, so we're like, that was terrible. Like, this is someone's life. And we just don't see that. Now we'll see tears, but man, you just don't know what it really is on someone's face to see them tell you their horrible thing that's happened, but to see them say, but God, or what, but I'm okay. I'm doing okay. And you're like, I don't know. How are you okay? I'm upset if my food is late pickup for Walmart, and they're going
Yeah.
through terrible things.
Well, you have volunteers and employees that are interfacing with people that are experiencing trauma or have just experienced some sort of trauma. Do you worry about the mental health of your volunteers and your employees that are in the mix all the time or most of the time?
I personally don't. And here's why. I think that when you go to a counselor and they say, and you tell them, I'm dealing with some anxiety and depression, one of the biggest ways to overcome those mental health issues is to serve someone else and get yourself outside of yourself. And, there's been many posts that have been inspired by that truth. Like, get out and volunteer, give yourself away, love someone else, take care of someone else. Like, they even say, get a dog, do something to get outside of your head and outside of your situation. And it does great things for mental health. So I would say that Mercy Mall has been a place that many women have come to when they're looking for purpose. Many men come to that are looking for purpose. I'm retired. What do I do now? My issue is this. We had one lady come to us whose son entered prison they used to call it statutory rape, but it's now called something else. And she's like, I need a place to be around people that love the Lord and that can pour into me, and I can pour myself back into. I need a healthy distraction. So Mercy Mall, in many ways, is a healthy distraction to what's going on in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
I love this entire conversation because you guys are pouring goodness into a lot of places that clearly have deep and sincere needs. And so I love every bit of the conversation. Missy, I failed to ask you where you're from, so sorry for the weird pivot, but where'd you grow up?
Oh, I'm fully here for pivots. Here, there, and over that way. So I'm a Chesterfield, Richmond, Goochland, Chester. Did I say Richmond? Lynchburg. Throw that one in there for fun, just for funsies. So yeah, I am quite familiar with all things around here, except my Florida, Arkansas native is more in tune with Richmond and all the surrounding fun cities because she's a transplant. She's helped me go, because when you grow up, okay, I'll just say this, when you grow up in Chesterfield, you don't go to Richmond, right? People will say, like, don't go downtown. It's not safe for you down there. And so now I recognize, like, well, that might be true anywhere, but yeah, I've grown up in Chesterfield. Me and my husband, who've been married almost 28 years in October, we're both from here. We went to the same high school, but not at the same time because he's a little bit older than me. So yeah, right here, and our kids we are the people that Stacey talked about when she said she moved here, and everybody's like, they've all grown up here. So yeah, it's a great thing because it's very stable in that. And I can tell you what Whole Street used to look like and what it was before. But yeah, this is us. We've been Chesterfield people.
Yeah, it's weird. You mentioned Hall Street. Hall Street west of town has just exploded, and east of town, where I'm generally from, Hanover County, has also exploded. It's weird. People are coming to Richmond. Yeah. A lot of people have moved to Richmond over the last 20 years or so. Stacey, how can people help besides giving money?
There's so many other ways to help besides giving money. Just even donating items. We consider our donors that are stuff donors, we call them volunteers, because we require so much. Like you have to not only drive to the building, you have to make sure your stuff, they're clean, they're in bags, they're labeled, and you have to make an appointment. So just going through your items and staying connected to us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We have active presence out there. Just staying on top of what is needed. When there's an immediate need, the first place we're going to go is Facebook, especially Friends of Mercy Mall. We're going to go there and we're going to post things. And if people can bring in what is needed the most, that is the most helpful thing that people can do besides donate money. Volunteer coming into the building. We love group serves. We love group serves. However, those that are trained and know what to do when they come in, that's the easiest for us. So in other words, coming in and knowing what to do, signing in, and then just getting to work. That is super helpful as well. But being an ambassador, that is just talking about us. Like, hey, did you hear about Mercy Mall? If you're on a neighborhood group and someone says, I've got this extra stuff, or I've got some baby items, and someone says, oh, hey, have you heard about Mercy Mall? That just being an ambassador for us gets the word out. So yeah, those are just some basic ways that we could use help in the community.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a fun day ahead of you, right? I don't want to hold you on here too long.
I do. Missy, what are you doing?
I'm going to move stuff around the building.
Yay!
So that's going to be fun for me, actually. Yeah, I love doing that. I'm going to put these in and go, I'm sorry, I can't, what is that? That's how I'm going to do that.
Before we go, what do you guys do when you're not doing Mercy Mall of Virginia? And don't give me a hang out with family answer. What are your interests outside of this conversation?
You want to go first?
No, I want to hear what you say. So I don't say the same thing.
I told you guys I was going to say your first names before I asked the question.
You didn't. You lied.
Completely failed.
Yeah, that's okay.
Our family, we love coffee shops. And so we have gone to over 125 coffee shops in 2 years. And today we're going to a new one, Calyx Cafe. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's now in the area. And just a little shameless plug, we will soon have a coffee bar and resale boutique at Mercy Mall coming very soon. So yes, we love to do coffee shops, and I love plants.
She does. I'm surprised you don't have any behind you.
This is Hannah's house there. It's right over here.
Oh, that's right.
It's right here.
That's right.
Stacey, I have questions. What is it about coffee shops?
It's the community. So we don't hang out in bars anymore. That was back in the day. And so now we hang out in coffee shops. And it's amazing because people are a lot more alert. They remember what they did the day before. It's really cool. Like you go and you can just hang out. People are there for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3. I've even exchanged numbers and kept in touch with people we've met at coffee shops.
What if you're not a coffee drinker?
Then you get tea or water or whatever they're selling, or a biscuit or anything. It's not about the coffee.
All right. My mom, fortunately for me, is still with us, and she is crazy about plants. Are you somebody that has an immaculate backyard with lots of varieties?
No. I'm an indoor. I have landscaping finally, but we have indoor plants. Indoor plants are my babies, along with my babies. I have 4 grown children and a grandchild.
And what is it about indoor plants that you?
Well, it happened over the pandemic. It kind of just went like, you need something. You need to do something. So we would go to Lowe's every weekend and go, oh, that looks cool. What is that? And then we would buy it. And every week we got new plants, and it just kind of took off.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Missy, what about you?
I go to coffee shops and I like plants. No, I'm just kidding.
You do.
I'm in.
He does.
Okay. And anyhow, so what I love to do, honestly, because for me, I'm always so my energy, I like to just relax as much as I can. And so that looks like I love to sit on my porch. I have a screened-in porch with an egg chair that swings. I love that. I really, really, really enjoy just, unfortunately, spending time with my family, but I love getting together with friends and doing things that are new. I love traveling, although I can't seem to break the barrier of the ocean. I can't get over there. So I'll go to Harrisonburg. I might go to Nashville. I might go somewhere else, but I love to do that. My husband and I love to do that. He's more the girl of the relationship a lot of the times, not in a weird way, but he loves to go and look at the shop, smell the candles, get the this and do the thing and get the t-shirt. And so that's if I had my way, that's what I would do, is I would just make things cozy and cute and decorate and spend time with friends, do all the things. And so we get to play that out a lot of the time. You can see our hobbies and our interest play out at Mercy Mall because we get to execute that there as well. So create that environment for people to feel welcome.
Have you told your husband he's the girl in the relationship?
I don't have to. No, he knows. He loves to travel. Like when I go on girls' trips, I'm like, I tell him what all we did. He's like, oh, that would have been so fun. I'm like, I know, you should just come. And they're like, oh dear. So, but yeah, it's fun. He has a good time.
Awesome. What's the best place to learn more about you guys without interviewing you on a podcast? Just go to your website.
We send everybody to the website. We try to keep that updated. It's mercymallva.org. Very simple. mercymallva.org.
Awesome. Well, Stacey and Missy, it's good to talk to you. Good to meet you today, Stacey. Missy, you and I met over the phone a few weeks ago. Thank you for doing this. And I hope this reaches a lot more people that maybe didn't know about you guys, and they volunteer or donate or do whatever is helpful to you guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.